What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. The 2022 college football season is now officially underway. We have completed week 0. I'm going to give you my updated top 25 heading into week 1. It's basically the same as my preseason top 25. I only have one change, one team that I did change. Normally we'll have our takeaways video where I'll do my 5 takeaways. I didn't really have 5 takeaways from week 0. There wasn't that much to take away unless you want to take like 2 or 3 things away from individual games. There were 2 games that stood out. Of course, Nebraska and Northwestern. But what about Vanderbilt? Vanderbilt really impressive against Hawaii. Now, Hawaii could just be terrible, and that's the thing about these early season games. You don't know if a team is good or if the other team is just that bad. But regardless, Vanderbilt is going to be a better team this year than they were last year. I think that is clear. Mike Wright definitely gives them something at the quarterback position with his legs. The defense, you saw them flying around. I mean, you saw talented players out there on the field. Definitely improved from last year. I'd go ahead and say right now, I think Vanderbilt will probably win an SEC game based off of what I saw in that first game. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe Hawaii is just that bad. But I think Vanderbilt will for sure be improved from where they were last year, where they were pretty much getting blown out by everybody. And then there's Northwestern and Nebraska. We'll start with Northwestern. They were really impressive. The way they were able to use Evan Hull and Cam Porter out of the backfield. And they've got Andrew Clare as well. I think only had like 1 carry, but he's a dangerous guy there at running back. They've got a lot of depth there at that running back position. And I felt like that was a big key in this game. And something that I was just really impressed with this Northwestern team on, and also Ryan Helinski at quarterback. He was very sharp in this game. But the way they were able to use these running backs on the ground and the off, I mean, you could just go on and on. In fact, I'm going to circle back to Northwestern. We'll talk about Northwestern in just a little bit. Let's talk about Nebraska. Nebraska was, they came out looking like a really good team. I mean, they look like a talented team, looked like the better team, looked like they were going to win this game. And it was just another game where you had mistakes. A chance to maybe put the game away early. They fumble. The onside kick, of course, just an idiotic decision. Kind of reminded me of when Kirby Smart did the fake punt in the SEC championship back a few years ago. This was one of the worst coaching calls I've ever seen. And you could say, well, if it had worked, they would have went on to win the game. Maybe, but it's just not worth the risk. If you don't kick that onside kick, Nebraska probably wins this game. So, I mean, that was just a terrible decision. But looking at this Nebraska team, they came out looking like a very good team, looking like the team that I thought they were going to be this year. But I think it just comes back to the coaches. I mean, and mentally, is it just a mindset? I mean, they continue to find ways to lose these games. They're not making the adjustments. Northwestern in the second half, they made the adjustments. They did what they had to do. They were able to stop the Nebraska run game there late. They were getting after Casey Thompson. Maybe it was just the offensive line didn't hold up for Nebraska. I don't know what it was. It was wacky, but it was like a totally different game there from about midway in the third quarter. Really from that onside kick through the rest of the game. And I just think that you look at Northwestern and they out-coached Nebraska in this game. Pat Fitzgerald just, he's the veteran. And you question some of his decisions. Maybe he was being too conservative. But look how, it paid off. He knew what he was doing. He had a big 4th down where he went for it. He knew when to be aggressive, when to be conservative, because he's just a better coach than Scott Frost. And I think that's clear. And that's why I said going into this game, Northwestern had a chance to win it. I did pick Nebraska. I didn't pick Northwestern, but I thought that the game would be close and Northwestern would have a chance. So that was, the big takeaway. Nebraska, once again, just they can't win close games. And maybe it's a mindset. Maybe it's Scott Frost not making adjustments. It's not good. And if they do not find a way to win some big games, some close games, Scott Frost, I think, is going to be done at Nebraska, and this season is going to be a disaster once again. So let's get into my top 25. I'm going to be Mr. Negative in this video here today. I'm going to go through really quickly, as fast as I can, go through the teams and just kind of say what I'm concerned about with each team, because every team has some concerns. Again, I'm going to try to keep this really brief. This is the same top 25 as my preseason top 25, except for one team, and we'll talk about them they are towards the bottom. But let's just start at the top here. Alabama, my main concern, offensive line. Have they gotten better there? Are they going to be able to protect Bryce Young? Really the only question mark. If they are able to do that, it's hard to see anyone beating Alabama. But if they struggle on the offensive line, someone can exploit that like we saw teams last year do, and Alabama could be in trouble with a very tough schedule. Ohio State, it's all about the defense. Will they be improved there? I think that they will. How much? We'll see. I think those linebackers, the secondary, definitely have a lot to prove. Defensive line should be really strong. For Georgia, it's just about replacing all those elite players on defense. I feel like they can have a really good defense, maybe not as good as last year's, but can have a good defense. And I think that they'll be strong there. Offense, I think, is going to be very strong. But yeah, defense, they're going to be good. I like Georgia's going to have a good defense, but can they be elite again? That's the question. Michigan's kind of the same story. A lot of stars gone from the defense. Can they have a great defense again? I think the offense is going to be very good. Georgia and Michigan very similar when you look at their strengths and weaknesses, their question marks coming into this year. Utah, what's the question mark for Utah? Can they be explosive in the passing game? You know, that's going to be a question. They are more of a conservative offense. We know they like to run the football, but there will be times when they need to probably have some big games through the air. Can they do that? That's the question mark there for Utah. Clemson, wide receivers. You know, they've always had great wide receivers, but I've been looking at this offense, and you know, who's going to step up for them? That's a big question mark. The offensive line is a big question mark. But we'll see how that plays out there for Clemson. Michigan State, really not a ton of question marks for them, and I made absolutely no notes or anything going into this video. This is all off the top of my head and off of memory. I guess it's maybe just a little bit of depth issue there for Michigan State. How good will they be on defense? I think they're going to surprise people. I really do. I think they're going to have a really good run game. Peyton Thorne's a veteran quarterback. This is going to be a good Michigan State team. I think they're going to surprise people. For Miami, I feel like Miami is good in every position. They don't have any huge question marks, but are they good enough? Is that offensive line good enough to go against an elite team? Are those linebackers good enough? Can the receivers step up? They're going to be good. I think the ceiling, or excuse me, the floor for Miami is really, really high. I don't see them having a terrible year because they don't have a lot of question marks. Like I said, they have veterans. They have talented players at every position, but do they have those great players? Are they going to be able to step up and beat a Clemson, beat a Texas A&M? That's the question mark for me with Miami. Oregon, it's all about Bo Nix. Bo Nix, the big question mark there, of course. The passing game, what can they do? Talent is there. They've definitely got a very talented roster. I think people will definitely overlook Oregon. This is going to be a good team if Bo Nix is good. He'll be the question mark there. Notre Dame, playmakers stepping up, running backs, wide receivers. Who's going to step up? They've had some injuries. In fact, I even thought about moving Notre Dame down a little bit in my top 25 because of a few injuries, but we'll keep them here at number 10. That's going to be the question mark. Can those guys step up for them? Big question mark. Number 11, NC State. Pretty solid across the board. Can they get the run game going? I guess that's my concern for them. I think that they'll be fine in the passing game. Defense will be strong, but can they get the run game going? Texas A&M, can these young guys be ready to play right away? That'll be the question mark because they're going to definitely need to play some freshmen, that's for sure. Ole Miss is depth. Depth is definitely a concern. I think the starters for Ole Miss are going to be solid, but they don't have a ton of depth, a ton of talent there in the backups and everything. So they need to stay healthy. LSU, concerns are, the offensive line. Can they run the football? What's that quarterback? It's good. I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels, but how good is he going to be? You look at the secondary, some question marks there as well, but they're kind of like Miami. They're going to be good. They don't have any areas where they're going to be bad. Can they step up and become an elite team? That'll be the question. Arkansas, replacing a really talented linebacker, some guys in the secondary gone. Those will be concerns. Defensive line, can they get a pass rush? That's something that they haven't done a great job of. I think the offensive side of the ball is going to be pretty strong. Depth at receiver could be an issue. There are some concerns for Arkansas, and I think this is a team that has potential now to be a big disappointment this year. A lot of people high on them, and I'm high on them. I have them at number 15, but there are just some things if you look at them with depth and other things. If KJ Jefferson goes down, there are definitely some concerns for Arkansas to where they could be a big disappointment this year. Also, a very tough schedule could be part of that as well. 16 through 20, USC, it's all about the defense. Offense is going to be very dangerous, maybe the best offense in the country outside of possibly Ohio State, but they're going to have to step up on defense, and that'll be the question. That's where I'm concerned. Looking at Baylor, it's going to be, the run game. Can they run the ball like they did last year? That'll be a big question mark. Offensive line looks pretty strong, but they don't have any proven running backs, so that's where I'm going to be a little bit concerned with Baylor. Oklahoma, it's just, can all these pieces come together? A lot of transfers, new coaching staff, a lot of question marks. I think they can get it done, but it's definitely a concern. BYU, are they talented enough? This is a team with a lot of experience coming back, but we saw them lose pretty bad in a bowl game last year. They had some great moments last year, some bad moments as well. Do they have the talent to compete with some of the top teams that they'll play? Kentucky, concerns for them. Also, just the overall talent level. Will Levis at quarterback, a lot of people high on him. Need some help at receiver. Got a big transfer coming in that'll help them out. Do they have the talent? Do they have the talent to go toe-to-toe with Georgia? That's going to be the question, I think, for Kentucky. But they're going to be sound, and they're going to be a really good team. I think no doubt about that. Cincinnati at number 21, it's just replacing all those stars from last year. I think that they've got a nice formula going there right now, and I think that they will be able to reload and have a chance to win the American Conference. Pittsburgh, it'll be about the passing game. I know they'll be able to run the football. The defense will be good. Can they find a passing game with the transfer quarterback? That'll be interesting there. Houston, this is a team that has a lot coming back. Can they take down Cincinnati in the American? Watch out for UCF as well. This is a team that I think the passing game will be really good. Run game will be good. It's the defense maybe I'm a little more concerned about. How good can they be on that side of the ball? Oklahoma State, it's all about the secondary and the linebackers. That's where I'm concerned. I think the offense will be strong. Spencer Sanders, can he get it done through the air? That's maybe another question mark. But that back seven, those linebackers, that secondary, that's where I'm concerned about Oklahoma State. And then here we get to number 25, Northwestern. So I did put them in my top 25. Doesn't mean they're going to stay in the top 25. I do a new top 25 every week. I don't just move teams up and down. I had Iowa at number 25, and honestly, Northwestern looked like a better team than what I'm expecting to see from Iowa, so I put them at number 25. So we'll kind of go back here and talk about this team. I started talking about them earlier. That running back unit, I think, is very dangerous, and the ability to throw the ball out of the backfield to make plays in the passing game with their running backs. That was a big weapon for them against Nebraska, I should say. Ryan Helinski really sharp. Offensive line protected him. This is an offense that has a chance to be one of the better offenses in the Big Ten West based off of what I saw in that game. Defense definitely had some questionable moments. Nebraska made some plays as well, though, but there were times where they just had receivers wide open. So I'm a little concerned about the Northwestern defense. Like with Iowa, it's kind of the opposite. Iowa, I think the defense will be strong. I'm a little concerned about their offense. But again, based off of what we saw in this first game, Northwestern, sure, they deserve to be ranked. They look like a really good team. A team that could possibly beat Iowa. A team that maybe can win the Big Ten West. I don't think Nebraska is just that bad. I think Northwestern really improved a lot in the offseason. And they proved that they are a contender in the Big Ten West, at least based off of what we saw in that first game. And like I said, I'd completely redo my top 25 every week. So Northwestern may not be in my top 25 next week. If Iowa looks really good in their opener or whatever, I'm definitely going to be moving teams around. And if you didn't follow last year, you'll see that when you see my top 25s week to week. And then the teams that I considered, it's the same list that I gave with my preseason top 25. All teams that I think have potential to be top 25 teams. I'd love to get your thoughts on these teams. What are your biggest concerns? Where are your question marks for these teams heading into 2022? We are about to get to week 1, and we're going to see some great games. Can't wait for it. Thank you again for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.